Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Kekamo. Okay.
Okay.
So life was not very easy for me at that time. So coming to the title, this is a German word meaning a quick diagnosis, which is actually wrong. So I'll come to my one of the organ blink diagnoses which we made in dental college. I think all of us would say this is a eruption cyst. Can I have some responses?
Yes, ma'am. We will
Yes, ma'am.
definitely
We didn't
looking at
bother to
that.
take an X-ray at that. Hello. We didn't bother to take an X-ray at that particular time, and we gave a diagnosis of eruption cyst and did an incision. What came after 1 week is this. Actually, this was a case of neuroectodermal tumor of infancy. So the basic thing is when you don't go into fast diagnosis. If we had taken an X-ray before we came to a diagnosis, probably we would have said it's a neuroectodermal tumor of infancy. As you see in the X-ray, the tooth has been pushed out. Whereas in say eruption cyst, you would have had a radiolucency around a normal tooth in a normal position. So there are mistakes which you can make. After surgery, the child became normal, but just imagine the trauma the parents would have had with our diagnosis. So I always tell my students, if you don't know something, you will not be able to see it. So the main thing is every day it should be a learning process for us. Another, this is a thing which we can detect very early. Actually, when you take a photograph of a child, if you see like a cat size sort of an eye, you should think of retinoblastoma. So whatever it is, you need careful evaluation of clinic and radiological data if you want to come at a proper diagnosis and proper treatment. So I always say history is very, very important. That is one thing what Srilata madam has taught me. History is something you should take an effort to elicit. As I was saying, most of the now in the WhatsApp groups, even in the national group, you get sort of spotters. You have to spot it and give the diagnosis. They don't give you the history. They don't give you anything. But that is a wrong attitude. The student, like the newer generation, should think of. Should come at a diagnosis after proper evaluation. There are two cases which had come to our college. One was an ameloblastoma, which was mistaken for cellulitis and an abscess. And this one case, this man had come to dental college. Most of our senior sirs, like Balakrishnan sir, Venugopal sir, and all were treating him. And almost for 18 years, this man had a complaint. He had a complaint of, what do you call it? He had one of his teeth was extracted, upper 7 was extracted, and there was a oroantral fistula. And most of the doctors were treating him for oroantral fistula. And for 18 years, he was suffering from it. For some time, he'll be asymptomatic, and suddenly he'll have complaints. And what had happened was they had not bothered to take anything but a periapical X-ray. So this became, we had made an article out of it also. Actually, what we saw was there was haziness of the maxillary, and there's a small lining which you can see. This man had a odontogenic keratocyst, which is following the outline of the antrum. And nobody diagnosed it for 18 years. He had to suffer from this for 18 years. That's like a little amount of if the person is not getting cured with a particular type of treatment we are giving, definitely you should think of there could be some other diagnosis. So this was detected, and finally it was enucleated and his complaint went. But for 18 years, he had to suffer. Another thing I just want to just in context with this is just a normal antrum. Don't mistake it, the septa, for a lesion. You can go into a normal looking antrum thinking there is a lesion also. A similar case, there was a draining sinus in this region. It was diagnosed as oroantral fistula, but with the x-rays, it was CA maxillary antrum. So very innocuous. At first sight, you might think it is a oroantral fistula, take a small periapical x-ray and give the diagnosis. But probably you'll give antibiotics, or you might try to close the fistula, but the problem has not been solved. So we have a lot of imaging modalities. We can make use of it. So don't come at a diagnosis. Don't come at an organ ring diagnosis. It's most of my students would have seen this. Actually, this boy came with a history of fall from a swing. He had a bump on his head and sort of abscess looking lesion. An X-ray was taken and there was a diffuse radius lucency. We gave a diagnosis of periapical abscess. They did an IND, but no pus came. That is when we went and tested for the vitality of the teeth. Actually, if we had tested the vitality in the beginning itself and not assumed it's a periapical lesion, we would have come at a different diagnosis. Actually, this was an acute lymphoblastic leukemia. A very rare case, but then I'm emphasizing on the point of you should do all your investigation before you come at a diagnosis. Okay. This is a usual thing. It's called angina bullosa hemorrhagica. Even recently, 2 days back, one student called me up frantically saying her mother had a lesion. I don't know what it is, but I told her probably it is angina bullosa hemorrhagica, but it's not registering in the student. No, like she is not. This is a very innocuous lesion. It's not dangerous or anything. So there's a point in which you should see whether it is, don't over-diagnose or under-diagnose. Coming to the importance of CBCT. You see, in an IOPA, you might not see the lesion as such. We've got advanced imaging modalities. We should make use of it. The other part of it is this particular patient, he came with a bony hard swelling in the mandible. There was, in the panoramic X-ray, you're not seeing much. But you don't have to go for advanced imaging technologies. A simple occlusal X-ray will give you the diagnosis. Just a retained root stump with a periapic cyst. Another interesting case which we had in Calicut. I don't think we would see this case. It's a keratoacanthoma of the lip. Rare cases, but they do come. The final year students usually choose and study for oral medicine. There's no way you can choose and study because any of the lesions or anything can come to us at one point of time. Another point which we usually have is we have a feeling that perioral pigmentation is always associated with Peutz-Jeghers syndrome or Addison's disease. But there are cases where there can be idiopathic hyperpigmentation of no reason. If we're not aware of this, we'll go for unnecessary investigation. One thing characteristic of this particular condition is the nails will be pigmented and there will be pigmentation on the soles of the feet. It's very common in our society. Many females, aged females have this. Another thing is, we see a lot of cases where there are vascular lesions in the oral cavity in aged patients. And they specifically say they did not have it during their childhood. So diagnosis of hemangioma is actually wrong. We've been giving that, I think most of us do give a diagnosis of hemangioma, but there is a condition known as Mason's tumor. It usually comes as a result of trauma. It's a benign lesion. It's called intravascular papillary endothelial hyperplasia. Another experience which I'd like to put is during the first few months of my joining as a tutor in oral medicine, Dr. Prabha Belram from RCC came and approached me. And she asked me, can you give me some specimens of precancerous lesions? So I didn't know any ethical clearance and all is needed. So I said, okay, madam, when I take a biopsy, I'll give you the specimen. So 2 days later, she came with a request with ethical clearance from the RCC and a request to our dental college for taking specimens. And that's when I realized it's very difficult to get things done in dental college. There'll be a lot of objections. So I told madam, it's okay, madam, I'll give you the specimens. I'll be taking the biopsy, I'll give you. Nothing was said about it after that. But when the publication came, she saw to it that my name was also included in the publication. That is sort of an ethics that they hold. Even if she didn't give my name, I wouldn't have questioned it, or it would not have been there. But that relation with Prabha madam lasted over 15-20 years, and a lot of my students was able to do their thesis in RCC. At present, this journal has more than 237 citations. Okay. Every day is a learning process for us. So I don't know whether you know the fifth taste sensation, umami. We keep on teaching the students we have 4 taste sensations. There's a 5th taste sensation. Thank you very much. We'll have a discussion if you want. So.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was a beautiful presentation, short, sweet, and precise.
Sorry for the interruption in between.
No problem, ma'am. We all are learners. It's just a process of learning, that's all. And really, it was really very interesting to go back to all those cases. And beautiful and very magnanimous of you to share mistakes that you did. I feel, bringing out the mistakes in one is the most biggest sacrifice anybody can do. We all do mistakes. I don't think there's anybody in this group who has not done mistakes. Okay. And, to bring it out in open and say that I did so and so was amazing, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was,
one thing I had the advantage of having real good teachers. Srilada madam, Bhav Matthews sir, they were all willing to share with me. And even now, I think we have that good relation. Even after so many years, that teacher-student relation is still there with them.
Yes, ma'am. Pleasure to hear
the
that.
The newer generation should also have that relationship, which is missing now, I think.
Yeah, it has gone down.
Yeah.
That is why I initially said, people giving out information itself has come down, and giving out the mistakes that one has done much, much lesser. You're a rare gem. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, ma'am. And to talk from the private practitioner, that is as an oral medicine radiologist, as a private practitioner, the problem that we face is when somebody sends to our place for diagnosis, they it is very rare for you to get a referral sheet or a initial diagnostic workup that they have done. They don't realize that it makes our life easier. If they have done some radiographic investigations, if they included, it makes our life much more easier. We know what next step. But unfortunately, sometimes I have patients who come in there who have no clue why they have been sent there. They don't even have a referral sheet. They say, you just come here, they'll take the X-ray and send you back. So even the patient is coming with a mindset that, they've been sent here for an X-ray, not diagnosis. That is why I'm proud to say I'm probably the first one who started the exclusive oral medicine practice. But even today, I have to fight with all these aspects of dentistry and medicine, because people don't realize they want the report, they want to know what it is, but they don't have the basic courtesy of writing, what they think it.
It's very difficult if you don't have a proper history.
Exactly. But the moment we try to ask them for history, the patient is perplexed, because patient is like, I've come for an X-ray, you just take the X-ray. I've had umpteen number of patients who tell me, why are you asking me all these questions? I just need the X-ray. So those are the challenges as practitioners that we will be facing. I think most of the exclusive oral medicine practitioners would have, or the other ones also who are doing consulting, will also be facing these challenges. So that is one aspect. And recently, related to this, I had given a lecture to Satyabama University about TMD and this thing. I gave a possible diagnosis of linguomandibular dyskinesia, one patient, which I was finding it difficult to treat, because even taking an impression was difficult with the jaw and the tongue moving involuntarily. So I had put it up as my latest challenge in the slide. And I'm glad that from Mumbai, Dr. Umarji called me up and said, it looked like tardive dyskinesia. So I told him, yes, sir, tardive dyskinesia was a possibility, but this lady has no history of, any antipsychotic drugs. And she was always coming with an assistant lady. So recently, when she came, her elder son had come with her. So I got Dr. Mary, who's my colleague. I asked her to take a detailed history, because that guy should be able to help us. And you won't believe that how that history helped me. She has a son who's a schizophrenic, a younger one. So she had interchanged the medication. She was the one giving the medication for both of them. And so for 1 year, she had her son's medication, and her son was having all the anti-diabetic and antihypertensive medication. Her son was just around 20 years old. So that explained tardive dyskinesia. I'm just saying, it took me around at least 3 or 4 months to get there. And I called Umarji sir and thanked him, you reinforced my thoughts, and, I've, somehow at least now, till the effect of the drug is over, we won't touch her. We'll get her after that. So the importance of history and clinical examination. Just to reiterate what this happened just last week, so it's very fresh in my mind. Thank you very much, ma'am. Anybody who wants to talk, please unmute and talk. And if there are any questions, it'll be a pleasure. Madam loves answering questions.
It was very nice of you to share all the mistakes, because it is very much needed. It will boost up the morale of the youngsters. They are scared to make mistakes, no? But when senior people have a history of making mistakes, it will boost up. It's a morale booster for them.
Actually, the first mistake I made, I was miserable for a few weeks, because not diagnosing leprosy, I think it's really bad.
Yeah.
And I think it's not wrong to be wrong, Allah.
Yeah, anybody can go. To err is human, no? That's what they say. So
And
to accept is
another point I would like to express is there's a conflict between oral pathology and oral medicine, saying oral pathology shouldn't be
always.
done. But it's only if we can exert ourselves and bring out that we are stomatologists, we are diagnosticians, can we stand. There's no point in saying oral pathologists shouldn't diagnose.
When we don't do our things,
Yeah,
that's
others take it up.
what. So there's no point in blaming others. Do your work, then nobody else will take your place.
Actually, I get references from dermatologists, ophthalmologists, ENTs. So if you establish yourself, definitely you'll get references.
Yeah. So establish your metal, then automatically people will come to you.
Yeah.
Madam, probably the problem with the youngsters who who are in this is how to establish. That is the main problem. So what I would like to suggest to these characters is that they have to improve their PR. They have to go and at least present some of these cases in front of general dental surgeons. So this I have been telling my postgraduate students, because the age of teaching and is over. So it is almost like it is like
of learning.
you have to practice. It is you have to practice oral medicine. So if for practicing oral medicine and for establishing oral medicine, I think you have to present yourselves in front of general dental surgeons. You have to present yourselves in front of the hospital authorities, and say that you can add value to what is there. So once you do that, then probably you will get references. But for that, the main requirement is that you should have a protocol. You should develop your own protocol of how you are seeing the patient, how you will make a diagnosis, and what are you going to do about that diagnosis which you have made. So it is based on. So I think that workup has to be done. And if that workup is done, I think there are a lot of opportunities for oral medicine people. Because see, if you see any multi-specialty hospital which is there in the town, hardly anybody has an oral medicine specialist posted there. At least a BDS graduate or like an oral medicine consultant who can go there and see cases. At about 4 or 5 cases every day is more than sufficient for for having a good practice. So slowly from there you can definitely build up your practice of oral medicine, I think.
The only thing is you have to be sure of yourself and you have to exert yourself. Because we had one case of tuberculous ulcer of the tongue. So we referred the patient to the general medicine department. They didn't believe that it is tuberculous ulcer. So they send back, you treat, it is not tuberculous ulcer. Then practically my junior had to go and convince them and say why the tuberculous ulcer occurs in the tongue. And finally, when they did the diagnosis lab test, it came to be positive. So after that, whatever cases we send, they accept.
So that is exactly what I was trying to tell, madam. Because we can make a presentation, or the concerned people should make a presentation in front of the general medicine people regarding oral manifestations. Just saying that you are an expert, it doesn't work nowadays. You have to prove, or at least you have to show that this thing is working.
Yeah, you have to give the evidence.
Hello. I would like to congratulate Anita for giving a good presentation with a vast number of cases of her experience. And I feel that after the actual presentation for half an hour, we can present one or two interesting cases as short discussion in the future webinars. Anyway, she started with leprosy, Hansen's disease, and this is something which we pick up in the cancer detection camps, especially in tuberculosis leprosy, where the patients present with maculopapular anesthetic lesions. And if you roughly estimate in a year, we will have certainly more than 10 cases of macular anesthetic patches, which on later diagnostic workup proved to be tuberculosis leprosy. There are so many classical cases which the diagnosis will never be missed based on the clinical findings, but some of the cases which Anita presented is a little rare and atypical. Anyway, all her experience we could share only partly. We saw only the tip of the iceberg of her collection. Thank you, Anita.
Thank you, sir. Like, I would like to tell the juniors that they should be free to approach anybody. Like all of us are there. If they want to discuss something, they should be free to discuss. We should bring that out in our association. There shouldn't be a difference.
No, but people have to be approachable also. No?
Madam, I don't think there's anybody there who is not approachable.
No, I'm not talking in the group, but usually that's what happens. They think that, okay, such a senior person, how we will go, all those kind of things.
You know, that is why ASMIC is here to change that. You know, all of us have already done your graduation.
Yeah, it has to be changed.
Yeah. And that process is, that's why this concept of, you know, roll number we have taken, so that everybody gets to speak and everybody is seen and heard, so that we all know each other well. Instead of just, you know, me as the president or Anita madam as the, Anita madam as the president, me as the secretary, Babu Matthews are a very senior person, everybody knows. Beena ma'am, so you're very famous. So just few of us talking is not enough. So I always want the younger kids to come up. And that is why you can see Nitin is hosting the thing. So he will be like, you know, he'll be known by everybody. That is the first step. And when his roll number comes, he'll have to lecture. So all of us, that is the idea behind the concept here. So even now, I would recommend that all those who are here participating, please do unmute yourself and ask questions. No problem. It needn't be questions also. You can voice your opinion also. Okay. Or whatever current things that you're facing, the issues that you're facing, anything. It can be anything. The only thing is it has to be related to ASMIC.
One suggestion. That can we include our PGs in this group if they become associate members? Like now it's only the life members that's coming to this particular group. I think PG should also should have a forum.
Yeah, if they have registered, I think now both the charges are the same. So we are seeing them as members only once they register. So they can join in, of course, obviously. Anyway, their life choice has been made to be oral medicine and radiologist. Yeah, definitely, ma'am. Why not? But then we decided to shift from the general ASMIC group because see, some kind of decorum and some kind of unity has to be established. We cannot be open for all. Then the problem is after some time it becomes very, you know, there is no ownership of it. That's why we wanted people who are to, and so many have registered, around 100 plus have registered. The problem now we are facing is people have not come into this group. I don't know why. We've kept reminding. but in time that will happen. That is not a problem. So any PG who is registered also becomes a member and is definitely eligible to come into this group. Anybody
Hello.
would like to speak? Please.
Yeah. I have a suggestion. I don't know how far it will be practical, but we can have a Viva session for the PGs in this group one at a time, so that they'll get different type of questions. If it is possible, okay?
Madam, we don't want to scare them. They
Madam,
are going
most of the people will escape, madam.
No, not like that.
And we have a very good, humble, strong
There is
star.
no penalization if they don't answer, okay? The only
We have
thing
a
is
very-
they'll get the different aspects, different people's opinion and different aspects of the same thing.
They can
Because,
come forward and ask questions.
Yeah, ma'am.
They should come
They
forward
can.
and ask questions.
Yeah, they can become a SMIC member and come into the group, and like anybody else, they have the right to ask questions and find out. And there
They
is
can
no.
conduct a Viva for us.
Actually, we should have. My mentor was Dr. N.T. Desai. He never asked questions. He used to make us ask him questions. You know how difficult it is. If you ask him any stupid question, he'll start laughing. You had to ask him very intelligent question. For that, you have to prepare and go. So we can make it like that.
I know.
See, but
One question per presentation, right?
No, the thing is, what I always say is like I heard this from somebody. There are no stupid questions, but only stupid people who don't ask questions.
Yeah.
It is like that.
Yeah, excellent.
So, I think-
well put.
So,
No,
so
there
I
are
think
no
it is
stupid
always
questions.
better.
From stupid questions, only great things came out.
That is exactly. There are only stupid people who don't ask questions. So we have to learn to ask questions, which I think is lacking somewhere.
I
A
know.
lot of people are lacking that ability to ask a proper question.
Now,
So
if
once you
Newton
start
hadn't
asking
asked the
proper
question why the
questions,
apple is coming down, so much of physics would not have come.
Correct. So I think we can, as Madam said, we can encourage PGs or whosoever is there in the group to ask questions. So it is not necessary
Not
that we have to
being
know all
asked
the
questions. No?
answers. Correct.
So,
Anybody else
Sure.
want to ask questions?
so I think there is nobody else who's right now. The initial inhibition will all go once we get better acquainted. So I think we should wind up for today. Thank you very much for one and all of you coming here. And if you want to know, actually, I was in the midst of international conference. You can see the screen is still on. Dr. Konstantin Ronkin from Russia was talking. But I prefer to listen to Anida Madam. So that's why I was always here. So
Is it that oncology, head and neck oncology conference?
no, ma'am, it's the airway conference, neuromuscular dentistry airway conference. So I'm part of in fact, the next speaker I have to introduce. So I have to take leave soon. That's why I said, okay. So, but Ronkin, I've heard him once, but Anida ma'am, I had the fortune of listening her today for the first time today. And it was short and very, very interesting. So thank you very much, ma'am. And thank you all for coming. And please remember, if anybody has not joined and you know that they have